still with us, Katrina?
I am.
Okay, good. So we made it through the first hour, and we're very excited to be back with you again. We're talking about crystal skulls. That's Katrina Head. I'm Joshua Shapiro. We're known as the Crystal Skull Explorers. We want to thank everyone for sending us all these great questions. And we still had a couple of questions we didn't answer at the end. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to pick it up from there, and then we'll head into some different directions, assuming now everybody's on the same page. They've got the crystal skull. One of the listeners did say there already is a technology to play back the holographic nature of data stored in crystal. Well, my understanding of this holographic storage of data in crystal, it's still kind of a system that has been designed and developed by, let's say, modern scientists. The type of holographic information that's stored in the crystal skull, I think, is more like a living holographic information, and that's the only way I know how to describe it. I think it would be like as if you were, when it broadcasted, it would be like you would be actually there. That's my sensing of it. But anyway, there's most definitely, through the mediums and sensitives, picking up vibrational information linked to events happening around it and talking about it when they link into the energy of the skull. Are crystal skulls and bone the bridge between ufology and the paranormal was another interesting question. I don't think having a total crystal skeleton or the human bone necessarily is a bridge between ufology and the paranormal. I think that the crystal skulls could be gifts from the extraterrestrials. However, there are some crystal skulls that actually look like aliens, like there's one called Synergy, which definitely doesn't look human-like, and there is actually a smoky quartz skull held by the Van Dieten family. That they have one called E.T. It definitely doesn't look like a human bone skull, and the Mayans say it's quite old. And then, of course, we have some modern carvers who are creating a lot of E.T. type shape of skulls as well. So, but the reason why the UFO connection with crystal skulls came up is because before we were talking about how with certain crystal skulls, if you use color, light, and sound, that there were these kind of images that appeared in the skull, and they were seeing a lot of UFO shapes showing up and alien shapes, etc. And so this is, again, leading us towards the idea that maybe, the skulls are recording all kinds of amazing things. So what I'd like to focus on right now is kind of some personal experiences that we've had, which I think, because this is a really good way to help people to understand what crystal skulls are about and how they work. So I'm going to start with Katrina. So Katrina, out of all the skulls you've seen, including the one that you're seeing now, what do you think has been the most profound experience you've ever had when you were in the presence of a crystal skull? And that could even include the personal ones we have.
I wouldn't say, I just would not separate it. It's all come together for what I need. As far as an experience goes, as far as being the most exciting, and I haven't absorbed it or even integrated it yet, because the tour just began on Friday, is the Mitchell Hedges skull, because I love crystals and I love crystal skulls, but this one, the way that it was carved and the way that it looks, it doesn't even look like the crystal comes from this earth. So that's the best I can explain as far as a profound experience. I'm having a profound experience in the moment with the Mitchell Hedges skull.
Right. But, okay, so let me ask the question this way. When you've had contact with any crystal skull, has there been other intelligent presences around the skull communicating with you?
Well, most certainly. I would say that as far as that question goes, I would relate it to the first crystal skull that was gifted to me. And by the way, the size of a crystal skull does not matter. It's the
Right.
way that you work with the energy of the crystal or the crystal skull. And
Okay.
my first crystal skull that was presented to me is a little pink quartz, rose quartz crystal skull. And it's just something that I had inside of me of a knowingness what to do with it. To be honest with you, when I first came in to seeing crystal skulls, I did not understand it. I did not. I was just totally surprised that somebody was carving crystal into crystal skulls. I didn't resonate with it. I could not understand it. But once this particular friend of mine gifted me this crystal skull, and she laughed, and I had it with me at home. I began to meditate with it. I began to, work with it as far as taking out in nature and then sleeping with it. And things started opening up that's in my cellular memory. So as far as a profound experience, that's a profound, but I have many profound experiences.
Oh yes, I know for sure. But
So,
I'm trying to get more at like a communication or description of the type of beings that you felt that are around these skulls.
well, I mean, the type of beings.
Yeah, like for example, you have the gift where you see spirits all the time or extraterrestrials in other dimensions. And I was trying to share with the people that are listening your experiences related to what kind of beings, intelligent beings, are connected with the crystal skulls that you meet, that you've had an experience with or
Well,
communication.
I don't see that that is significant for me because first and foremost, I connect to the higher part of myself. And then these entities or this group consciousness will come in and work along with my higher self. So for me, a protection would be to directly link in with that feeling of that higher part of myself, and then a consciousness would come in. It's not necessarily that, because I hold a crystal skull that I see these, tall alien beings come in. Now that it's not that I haven't, but it's not just because I have a crystal skull, if that makes any sense.
I understand.
Okay.
I found because the crystal skulls act sort of like little mini energy vortexes, that sometimes it's easier for, let's say, our so-called spiritual family on the other side to make contact with us or to be more present. So that's why I was asking that question. Let me try to answer that question then with some experiences I've had. I want to go to my experience I had in a crop circle in England. I thought that was really an amazing experience. So let's see. How do I set up the listeners?
And did
Okay.
you see the ET?
No, I never see, I feel. But that wasn't
Okay.
what was happening in this experience.
Okay.
Although there was an intelligence that was there, but I don't know if I know how to describe it. So I have to go. Let me give them the experience first, and then we can talk about it some more.
Okay.
So I went to England, and of course, like probably many of you, if you have a chance to go, especially if you're in the Southwest, you want to go to the crop circles. First of all, you want to see, is there something special about them? Are they real? Are they not real? Well, for me, because I'm sensitive to energy, if I'm in a crop circle that's real, there's going to be a spiraling energy vortex in that field. If you walk with it, it's good. If you walk against it, it can make you dizzy. If it's a fake one, and there were guys creating a fake one, I'm going to tell you a funny story, too, related to the crop circles in a moment here. You don't feel anything. So anyway, I was in a crop circle where I was feeling the energy. And I was with a crop circle researcher, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. He was really a very well-known, loved crop circle researcher in England, and I wish I could remember his name so I could honor him for taking us there. We went to a crop circle that was in the shape of a yin-yang pattern. And in this crop circle, it was kind of like had, how can we say, circular levels. And he had a device that was sensitive to the electromagnetic energy. So what he was able to see is, as we were going through the crop circle, where there was a pattern, there was an energy connected to it. And when we walked outside of that pattern, it was zero. Okay. So then what we decided to do is we said, okay, I'm going to do a meditation. Portal de Luz, that's our 10-pound smoky quartz skull I had with me. I'm going to meditate with him. I'm going to go by the center of the circle. And the highest meditation I personally have that really works for me is when I listen to special music and I'm meditating with the crystal skull. Now, this particular crystal skull, if you believe it's alive and has a personality, and he most definitely does, he's one of our comedian skulls. He likes the music Pachelbel's Bell's Canon in D. That's his favorite song. So I said, okay, I'm going to put on my headphones now. And at this time, there were no MP3 players. It was portable CD players. So I had my portable CD player with my headphones, put it on. I'm sitting near the center of the crop circle. Now, before I go into the meditation, the researcher is measuring the frequencies of energy around the center of this crop circle, the very center. You know, there's like a hole there. And it's the geometric pattern is, you know, concentric circles coming into the center. And he measured an energy of zero, but the skull was showing us, and all three of us that were there at that time saw this, a spiraling energy going into the skull and a spiraling energy coming out, but it was doing it very fast. So I figured that what was happening is the spiraling energy was negating itself, and that was the reason there was a zero measurement. So then what I did is, you know, I held the skull, I started the music, and what I remember was I felt like there was a cone of energy that formed around me, and I felt like, you know, there were dimensional beings there. They didn't communicate with me, you know, telepathically. I could just kind of feel their presence. Somebody was there. And then in the middle part of the song, and this is me, right? Sometimes I have to sing, you know, even though I don't know if I sing very well. I feel like, you know, if it's a really great song, I got to sing, I got to dance, I got to move with it. So in this case, I felt like I needed to sing with that song. And I thought I was singing with Pachelbel's canon in perfect pitch. It was great. It was wonderful and fantastic. And when I came out, everybody looked at me and said, "What song were you singing?" So I don't know. I must have been in some other space, maybe La La Land, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, when I came out, before I put the skull in the center, they measured it again. It was zero. They measured the energy around the skull, and it was like off the scale. And we put the skull in the center, measured it, and then it was off the scale. So somehow, doing this meditation with the music, with the crystal skull, we were able to affect an energetic change at the center of the crop circle. But when we worked with another crop circle researcher person a few years later in a different crop circle, again doing a similar technique, we did have some communication from beings through one of the people that was tested. And what we did in this case is this crop circle researcher, we went to a crop circle, and I think it was like in the shape of an Irish knot, and it was, I can't remember the name of this part of where the crop circles were showing up, but the southwestern part of England. The first one I experienced was by was it Avebury? I think it was Avebury. This one was away from Avebury. It was in some other area. It was in an Irish knot. So the crop circle researcher found where the ley lines, these are the energy lines in the ground that certain instruments can measure, which the ancients knew, and they would build all their structures and everything there. So he found where two energy lines intersected in the crop circle, and that's where he put everyone to do meditation. So what happened is he put down, I think the first person was a woman. She started to do meditation, and he saw that there was an energy line coming in from behind her. And as soon as she started meditating, that line split into two parts and never came back for the rest of the sessions. He said, "I've never seen that before in a crop circle." So again, what I'm saying is, you know, the crystal skull that comes from the ground, it's quartz crystal made in the shape of a skull, has the ability to affect the earth energy lines. Again, we're seeing it in the crop circle. But with this particular person, she started hearing these tall extraterrestrial beings who apparently were responsible for making that crop circle. They were talking. They say, these humans, we just don't understand them. Here we go and we make this beautiful crop circle for everyone to enjoy and to feel the energy and have a good time with. And all they're doing is doing tests to try to prove if it's real or not. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The other experience that I'm thinking about, can I go ahead and share this one with the Mitchell Hedges skull that I had in Indiana?
Sure, because your question was, what is the most profound experience?
Right. Well, I thought that was pretty profound.
Okay.
And I already talked about Portal de Luz, showing the frequencies of energies of the human senses. That was
so you're like me. You can't name just one, right?
No, of course not. No one.
You have quite a few.
But this other one with the Mitchell Hedges skull was pretty interesting, too. Since it's here, might as well tell this one. I don't even think Mr. Holman knows this. I don't know if I had a chance to tell him this or not.
About the holographic image?
No, not about the holographic image. When I was in Indiana, at his home in Indiana, and we had, well, first what we did is we did a 25-minute video interview with him, which some people have gotten to see in our presentations. Very interesting. He had just become the guardian of the crystal skull for about a year. And in 2008, after he received the skull, that's when he really started traveling a lot and started sharing the skull. 2008, 2009. Of course, Indiana Jones film came out in 2008. And, of course, I had more media interviews in a short period of time than I ever had in my entire life. It was like one right after the other, even some TV shows. So it was fun. But anyway, after we did the video interview with him, I asked Mr. Holman, Bill, I said, would it be okay if I do, my own meditation with this skull? And he said, sure, it's fine. So he had it on this coffee table that he inherited from Anna Mitchell Hedges, was very low to the ground. So I had to sit on the ground and meditate. And I had 3 personal skulls with me. And I had Portal de Luz, the 10-pound one, face-to-face with the Mitchell Hedges skull, 2 smaller ones behind, creating a triangle pattern. And I also had, of course, my MP3 player so I could switch songs very quickly. That's one of the things I like to do when I meditate, is listen to certain songs because the music really resonates with me. By the way, for those listening, I had a problem over the weekend. I was listening to my music after being in the presence of the Mitchell Hedges skull, and I didn't like the music I used to like anymore. I thought, that's weird. I don't know what music I like anymore.
So what do you think that's about, Joshua?
Well, it means my vibration got shifted somehow, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, going back to that other story, so I'm doing the meditation, and, I'm sitting facing the skull. It didn't allow me to touch the skull, so, it can just be in its presence. But I could turn, it's on a lazy Susan, so you can turn it and see it from all different angles. So I was able to turn it. So first part, it was on its side facing Portal de Luz, and that part of the meditation, it was very peaceful. Now, you have to understand, I'm a typical Aries. I'm born on April 17th. You can ask Katrina. I like variety. I like challenges. I'm not going to stay with the same thing. And I have trouble staying with a meditation more than 5 or 10 minutes where, I'm just doing the same thing over and over. So it was an absolute miracle that I could spend 20 minutes there and be totally content, because in the first part of the meditation, it felt totally peaceful and harmonious, and it was fabulous, and I could have stayed there all day. But, Mr. Holman and my friend who was with me, they were hungry. They wanted to go out to eat, so I only got 20 minutes. But this is the part that I'm not totally sure what it means, who was visiting me, what was happening. And again, I don't see the spirits, I feel them. So I felt, how can I describe it? So I turned the skull so it's facing me in the second part, and I felt, as I'm sitting facing the skull off to my right, high above the skull, like, to the right of it, as I'm looking at it, there was a consciousness in the room. And normally when you have contact with consciousness, whether it's ET, spirit, whatever, it's like an individual consciousness. It's like, I'm talking to Katrina. It's one-on-one, one person talking to a person, or I am talking to a spirit. But this consciousness felt like it was a universal consciousness that had many minds, if that's the correct way to describe it. And it seemed to know everything about me, you know, and I didn't understand. And I didn't think that. Well, why are you showing up with me? Who am I? I'm just Josh Shapiro. I'm a crystal skull explorer. I'm just a regular guy. It's like Bill Holman said at his talk. He's a regular guy, and but anyway, what I think happened to me from this is it shifted my vibrational frequency, and it helped me to go more into the neutral, to be in the neutral. This is very important right now, is to be able to be in the neutral, where, even if somebody says the most terrible things about you, you just go, well, that's their opinion. That's fine with me. I do the best I can. So it really helped me to be in the neutral, to not take sides, to just be as peaceful as possible, except, of course, well, Katrina would tell you, he's not always peaceful. The Aries part will come up sometimes when he's really strongly believes in something. That's the intensity. But it just was like, and it just like it knew everything, and it was just this special energy. So I still don't understand fully about that. Of course, I don't totally understand what happened to me when I had my coma in Las Vegas, but that wasn't directly connected to a crystal skull. I was in a coma for 3 days. I had visions of going somewhere and seeing something, but that's going to have to be for another radio show. Did we receive any more questions?
Well, there was a question that was missed. That's from Gino.
Okay.
And I think it's interesting because he's asking, how old is the Mitchell Hedges skull?
Okay, so what do you think now that you've seen it for the last 3 days? What's your feeling?
Well, my feeling is it doesn't come from here.
Okay,
so I don't know how you could date it.
Okay.
Because what I find interesting is that in the presentation, the caretaker Bill Holman shows a slide presentation, and he's showing these pictures that are dated back to the when was the Mitchell Hedges skull found, Joshua?
1924.
1924, and he's showing this one picture of the skull. The Mitchell Hedges skull was found in Belize. What was the name of the city, Joshua?
Lubantum.
Yes, in Belize. And what happened is that Anna was like, 12 years old, and her village friends that were in the village were hiking up way above the pyramid. And what I find interesting is that the crystal skull was shining, and she was able to see it shining, sort of like, and it was in the daylight. Correct?
It was shining through the stones of the pyramid. The pyramid had been damaged by an earthquake. And
so was it in the daylight? Was it in the daylight?
It was during the daylight, and was shining through the cracks of the pyramid.
So for me, and this is just for me, I mean, isn't that what stars do? They shine. Exactly. So I find it interesting, really interesting. So I don't think that there's an age on it, and the density in this time. I don't think there's an age on it. If it's ancient, what does it mean for you for an artifact to be ancient? Joshua?
I like to go with it was created 2,000 years ago or older, which could be millions of years ago. We don't know.
So I saw an interesting statement on the Mitchell Hedges skull. One lady said, for it to be ancient, for her means that it's an original. So that's interesting. I like that statement.
Okay, well, that's interesting that you bring it up, because there is a I can't think of the word. It's not a prophecy. The belief that there are 13 master crystal skulls, or 13 original crystal skulls that exist. And Mr. Holman believes that the Mitchell Hedges skull is one of those. He did say that in the talk. I don't want to dispute his belief or whatever, but let's just say this number 1 and 12 grouping could be one or more different groups of skulls that exist, because we have seen different forms of crystal skulls, and there's more than one, including one of the skulls we have, Tachula, which is the oldest skull we have, that was found in the ground in a Mongolian dig when they were building a dam. It came out of the ground. And we met somebody in the northern part of Washington at a fair who had an almost exact same skull. And now we just got written this week. I don't know if we're going to meet this guy because he just seems to be interested in selling skulls. And of course, that's not what crystal skulls are about.
But he still has some interesting artifacts.
But he said in his email, I've had all of them. So I'm trying to learn from him, what does that mean? Because now we know there's more than one that's the same. When we received this skull in Sedona, through the person who got it from the people in Mongolia, we thought it was the only one like it, and now there's two of them. I think people, to really get a sense of Tachula, you really need to go on our website, csc.crystalskullexplorers.com, pick the About Us menu in our Crystal Children, and you'll see a picture of Tachula. It's a very different type of skull. It doesn't look human-like. It's stylized, but it told Katrina it was our protector, right, when you first saw it?
Yes, most definitely. So we have an interesting question here, and I like the way that you answer it, Joshua. Gino is saying 13 skulls, 13 colonies with the 14th district, like ISIS mythology. Now, you always make a lot of comments about the 13 or the 12. Do you want to make a comment about that?
Well, first of all, I want to finish about the Mitchell Hedges skull, and then I'll come back to this because I didn't have a chance. Okay, so now I don't know if this experience I had means my interpretation of it or what I feel or what I see inside myself is correct. But when I first saw the Mitchell Hedges skull, which was in Dallas, Texas in 1986, and I was, around it, looking at it, and Anna Mitchell Hedges was there and so on. She asked me one time to watch it for her, and I was kind of surprised that she did that. But I've thought about that because, this crystal skull, it knows, I believe, it recognizes everybody who's around it. And since that moment, it made me kind of feel like, could I have been maybe a guardian of it in the past? Because I really feel very close to it. I mean, of all the thousands of crystal skulls that I've seen, this is the one, that has changed me profoundly the most. There is no other skull that's close to it except the blue skull, which I'm going to have to explain before the radio show ends because we have a book about that. But anyway, that's totally different. So I have a memory of being in Atlantis in the temples because I believe there were possibly 13 temples and each one had its own crystal skull in Atlantis. And I have a memory, I can see it right now in my mind's eye. That's how I see things, is through my mind's eye, that I'm in this temple with the crystal skull, and I'm not the only one there that's helping to take care of it. There are many people there that are involved, men and women, like priests and priestesses. And so I believe the crystal skull was created in Atlantis. I don't think it was necessarily a gift from the gods, although there are some that probably were. I do think, and this again comes through our first book, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls Revealed, with Sandra Bow, Nick Nasarino, and myself. There was a channel named Michael Kent who said that, the Mitchell Hedges skull came from this Atlantean priestess, that they had a way to change bone into crystal, and that's where the Mitchell Hedges skull came from. So I think if this is true, if it's Atlantis, then it's probably at least 12,000, 15,000, 20,000 years old. But the problem is we do not have a scientific technique that I'm aware of where you can take quartz crystal, which is an inorganic substance, and you can do some kind of measurement on it to see when it was put into that shape. Okay, they might be able to know the material itself, how old it is, but they can't tell, when was it put into that shape. One of the big discussions that archaeologists and scientists have with crystal skulls is they'll look for what are called carver's tool marks on the surface of the skull, and this may give them some indication about when it was made. If it has these tool marks, then it's probably not as old as some people think. But the Mitchell-Hedges skull, according to Mr. Holman, it has no tool marks, and when HP had the skull and doing tests, and they took a tiny piece of it, which is why Anna Mitchell-Hedges will never again, and Mr. Holman, give it to a research. They took a tiny piece of the quartz, they damaged the tooth, and then later on, the Smithsonian Institute, who researched the skull, said, nope, it's a fake. There's damage in the skull. It was carved. You see, that's the thing. You could have this beautiful, very old artifact, and all you have to do is have a modern tool, just go to the surface, put some kind of marks on it or whatever, and then it goes from very old to brand new, made in a modern time. So tool marks is not really a good way to look at it. So come back to me. What was the question you asked me after I was supposed to talk about after Atlantis and the Mitchell-Hedges skull?
So Gino was talking about the 13 skulls, the 13 colonies, the 14th district, and he's going into the Isis mythology. But I've heard you say something about you may have used the number 12, though.
Well, what I think,
all linked together.
What I think it is, it's 12 and 1.
Okay, that's right.
12 and 1 seems to come up everywhere. Like I was brought up in Judaism. It's the 12 tribes of Israel and the priests. And in Christianity, it's the Christ and the 12 apostles. And then there's been a UFO researcher by the name of George Hunt Williamson. Back in the 50s, he wrote some really unbelievable books. And he said there are 12 planets in our solar system. And what he said is we know about 9, although the solar system I've been reading recently is being totally redefined. Pluto no longer is considered a regular planet. It's a planetoid. Then there's a planetoid in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. I think, is it called Sirius? I can't remember, something like that.
Sirius, yeah.
Not Sirius, Ceres, I think it is. And then we have planet X, which some people claim they're starting to see outside in the skies, especially when the sun is rising, sun is setting. But George Hunt Williamson said there's 2 other planets before Mercury that you cannot see because of the light of the sun. But sometimes you see like an interference in front of the sun, and it's these planets or something like that. So he speculated that our solar system could also have 12 planets and, the sun. So the idea that there might be 13 crystal skulls, one that's kind of like in the center, a master skull, and 12 around it, has come up from many people. It's like they've had visions of it, or there's been legends. But what I've always felt is there could be multiple sets, but maybe there is one master set. Like the Sci-Fi Channel, when they did their 2-hour documentary, and they took Bill Holman into, Central America looking for another crystal skull, etc. on that show. They looked at the crystal skulls that are known, which included the Mitchell-Hedges skull, another one called Max, that Joanne Parks had, probably Synergy, Sherry Whitfield. I think they also looked at the first one I saw, the amethyst skull called a Me. So in other words, various crystal skulls that are believed to be ancient. They figured there were like 8 of them, and we still needed to find 5 more. But my personal...
I don't believe that.
Right. I don't feel that either. I personally think that there is a special set of 13, but I don't think humanity's quite ready for it. And
the frequency of the planet is not there yet.
Right. And I think, the Mitchell-Hedges skull is a close example of what these kind of skulls might be. I think there's a possibility this blue one that I've seen, which I'm going to explain very fast here. For several years, I've had a vision of a blue crystal skull. It's kind of like the Mitchell-Hedges skull, has a separate jaw, very human-like, except it's the color of the sky, this kind of like white-blue, translucent white-blue color. Now, how I'm seeing this, I don't know, because first of all, I don't see things very well in my mind's eye, and I usually I don't see color. Everything for me is kind of like grayscale, black and white or gray. But I know that this skull that I think could have existed during Lemuria, it was like this. When I went to Peru, I had visions of it. And but I don't believe that it is in the physical reality. I think it's in the etheric energy level. And even if there are skulls in these other energy levels, we have talked with people who are having conversations, telepathic conversations with other crystal skulls that have not yet shown themselves physically. And the one sensing I had when I had my first direct contact when I was high up in the Andes Mountains in Peru by the border of Ecuador, I was in a little hut of this family. They lived very primitively, no electricity up there, no modern utilities, etc. So I was in a sleeping bag in their kitchen, and I saw this skull kind of appear to me. So I think that there's many other special crystal skulls that are getting ready to come out. Now, Gino's asking about the Smithsonian in the District of Columbia. There is a crystal skull the Smithsonian had, which I believe was shown in this documentary by the Sci-Fi Channel, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls. Or no, I'm getting it confused. The BBC did a show called Mystery of the Crystal Skulls. That crystal skull also was shown in there, and the Sci-Fi Channel one, I think they also showed it as well, but I can't remember. I got all these documentaries mixed up now. There used to be just one or two, and now it's like almost every year there's a new one that comes out. Ancient Aliens had a documentary. Stargate SG-1 had an episode. They used a plastic skull, of course, just like in Indiana Jones. They used a plastic skull. There's no way the Indiana Jones film where they were throwing that skull around that could actually happen with a real skull. It would have to be 20 or 30 pounds the size of that. We have a 10-pound skull. I'm lucky if I can throw it 1 or 2 feet up in the air. So it's kind of interesting. But the Smithsonian one, I believe, is that a hollow skull? Do you remember, Katrina? There's something a little bit unique. Yeah, it's a hollow crystal skull. And but as Bill Holman said, who worked with the Smithsonian because he brought them the Mitchell Hedges skull for research, and they didn't have good things to say. They don't like crystal skulls.
They never do.
So, but they have a very special one, and it's just like these skulls are coming out of everywhere. Okay, so I want to come back to the website again for people who might be interested to learn more about the crystal skulls. Our website again is at cse.crystalskullexplorers.com. Have all kinds of goodies there for you. Again, try to get a copy of our free ebook. It's a PDF formatted ebook, or join our free newsletter. We're always sending out updates to people on our mailing list about things going on. And take a look at some of the other pages on the website, or if you want to send us an email, it's very simple, crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. Or perhaps you may be interested to participate with us in one of the world peace meditations that we have. Now, there was something that I wanted to share, and I know Katrina and I we're not sure about this, but what I like to do when I have a radio show is I like to talk sometimes about what am I studying right now, because it's not just crystal skulls that we study, but we also look at things to do with the paranormal. I mean, we've been in the Seattle area since 2011, and I will freely admit I have an invisible spiritual family that is constantly giving me suggestions all the time. It's like I wake up and all of a sudden I have all these ideas of what to do. But they have been after me since we moved here in 2011, constantly going to the library, right? Every time I go to the library, I'm always bringing back, 5, 6, 7 books, going to parapsychology or the paranormal department, these kind of books, UFO books, bringing them back. And also, I've been doing a lot of watching on YouTube, etc. So the subject I want to add to the crystal skulls, because I think it's relevant for what's going on right now, is about Planet X, which we briefly already talked about when we were talking about the solar system. So Now, this is the way that I want to present it. I'm your brother. I don't have anyone that I know like in secret places that's telling me, "Oh, yes, this is correct," or I don't know these whistleblowers that are talking about it. And I know that when you go into YouTube and on the internet, there are so many different theories and ideas that are being presented that sometimes you ask yourself, well, what should I believe? What shouldn't I believe? I like to trust my intuition, and I like to trust soul memories, if that makes any sense. Things I kind of remember from other times, which makes sense to me. So this Planet X information, which was called the 12th Planet by Zachariah Sitchin, really has been it's like every time I go on the internet, I'm trying to stay up on what are people saying about this. So this kind of really blew me away when I realized, and I really believe this, and I really think there's credibility that we're not in a single star system, we're in a binary star system. And what does that mean? It means, or what they're saying. I'll just tell you what they're saying. And, if this sounds interesting, you've never heard of it, you want to check it out, go on the internet, look on Planet X, or they're calling the other sun that's part of our system Nemesis. And they're saying it's a dark star which cannot be seen in the visible sky, but with what is it? The red light, infrared light. Yes. And they have some satellites out in space that can shine infrared light out into space. They've been able to see the sun, but I saw videos on YouTube where there were two suns. There was our sun was setting, and all of a sudden here comes this other light, looks like a smaller sun, and then it sets. And people are seeing this all over the world, like when the sun rises and the sun sets. Like there was one guy, his name was Jacob, which I like because, Joshua, Jacob, biblical Jewish names, that's really cool. And he was saying, look at the sky. And he said, on the side where the sun is, there's all these chemtrails. It's like somebody's trying to cover the sky so you can't see what's there. But on the other side, there's nothing. It's just clear sky. So this is my understanding of what's happening. This other star system, they say, have 7 planets. They say the one that Zachariah Sitchin talked about, which is Nibiru, is the largest planet in the solar system. I think it's on the farthest reaches. But the things I'm seeing on YouTube, they're showing that Nibiru not only orbits Nemesis, but it also has a 3,600-year orbit around our sun. And it's like people are starting to see this other solar system. I saw one video on YouTube where first there was this one light, but was following the light were these other lights, like they were planets. So I'm just saying to the listeners, maybe this is all crazy. I know it's very controversial. Crystal skulls already are controversial. UFOs are controversial. But a lot of times controversial subjects hold within them kind of information that, it might be interesting to check it out, see what you think about it. But anyway, I'm just throwing that out there as an idea for people to consider. So I want to come back and kind of summarize now what we've been sharing about the crystal skulls, unless we have another quick question somebody asked us. Did we have any other questions in the chat room, Katrina?
I believe we got them all.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so today we've spoken about crystal skulls. That is different types of quartz crystals or gemstones which have been carved into the shape of human bone skulls. Although the modern carvers, as we said, they're using every gemstone you can imagine now to make the skulls, carving alien skulls, animal skulls, everything you can imagine. And because we have talented carvers on the planet, I've met some of them in Eder Oberstein in Germany, where if you sit down with these master carvers and say, I want to have this carved in this stone, they can do it. So we have talented people who can do this. Apparently, there have been advanced civilizations in the past, possibly Lemuria, Atlantis, maybe even in Egypt. I've been studying some things related to history, so I think there was an advanced period of time of Egypt, and then there was a more primitive time of Egypt. Casey talked about this in some of his sessions. And then also through personal contact, which I've had with different indigenous elders. It doesn't have to be Mayan elders, some Native American elders. I think in Australia, some they don't like to be called Aboriginal. They like to be called original people. Talked about that they may know under the water where their skull. Different places, crystal skulls have come out of the ground, sometimes linked to ancient ruins, and sometimes not. But these skulls are coming out at first in the 60s and the 70s. There were only a few of them, but now it's like hundreds and hundreds are coming out. Everywhere you look, you can find them. You go on eBay, websites, many websites. You know, when I first started to share about crystal skulls, there weren't that many teachers. Now there's so many of them. And I can't believe that starting from the middle part of the 1990s to now, there isn't this great interest in crystal skulls if there isn't some purpose and reason why they are important. And for me, and Katrina, you can share what you feel too, I felt from the very first one I saw, which was this amethyst skull called a me, the highest purpose and reason for them coming out and being here is to assist humanity to create world peace. The frequency of energies they store, the healing energies, the knowledge they have, the holographic images that we talked about, they are a sacred tool many cultures, many civilizations in the past have worked with, but they're returning now to assist us to move forward into a golden age. And that's the only vision that I personally see. I just see us, even though we have all kinds of crazy things going on the planet right now, and all these prophecies. I mean, we just visited a friend up in the northern part of Washington. Her ex-husband was involved in prophecies. I was doing nothing for 2 weeks but reading about prophecies. Many of them have not happened, prophecies of doom and destruction. I really believe our planet, where we're headed and the crystal skulls are returning, is to help us to create a golden age. So, Katrina, what are your thoughts on this, about the skulls?
I agree with that too. But I believe that we all process different. So
Okay.
it wasn't as profound as the first crystal skull that you saw in a picture. And me, you know, for me, I've already shared about the crystal, the rose quartz skull that I received, and then everything started opening up as far as my role is working with the crystalline pathways of the earth, which is on an etheric level. So it's hard to explain mine. It's easier for you to explain your story because yours is more logical than mine. But
Right.
yes, I do agree. I
Right.
mean, ever since I was a little girl, it's always been my heart's desire is for Earth to have world peace, even when I didn't even really know what world peace was. So
Exactly.
yes, I agree.
Right. And this is, of course, the reason why we do our Crystal Skull World Peace Day on the 13th of every month at the 13th hour. And also you will see another special day called Crystal Skull World Day, which is organized by the Crystal Skull Hearts Council, which is a collection of crystal skull guardians or carriers, as the indigenous elders like to refer to them, because there are two indigenous elders I know of. One is a Mayan and one is a Native American who has their own crystal skulls that they're working with and doing ceremony with. And that's called Crystal Skull World Day. It'll be on Sunday, November 20th. There are 4 different days when you'll be able to join. So all that good stuff on our website, as we shared with you before, cse.crystalskullexplorers.com, or you can send us email at crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. Or if that, short little thing I talked about, this blue skull that's been speaking to me, that's actually the last book that we've done. It's called Journeys of the Crystal Skull Explorers, Travelogue number 2, Search for the Blue Skull in Peru. We have it as an ebook and a printed book. You'll find that on our website. The original book I did with Nasserino and Bowen, unfortunately, it's out of print, so we only have some used copies that we can send to people. But that was a pretty amazing book as well. And the other thing I wanted to briefly mention that we're offering, that we started this year on the new website, is a online membership. The online membership is giving us an opportunity to create an online Crystal Skull community. It's also a way for people who really like what we're doing to help support our work. And what we're offering in the online membership is I'm actually working with 2 friends to write 2 different novels that show a potential scenario how world peace could actually happen. Crystal skulls are involved in the novels. Also, once a month, we interview special guests. And by the way, in future radio shows that we will be doing approximately once a month, we'll be a guest host for Epic Voyagers Radio. We're going to bring on some special guests. We were hoping to have a special guest for you, but unfortunately it didn't work out. You might guess who that might have been. So anyway, coming back to the membership, we interview special people, people I've met all these years, and have an audio interview. And then the last thing that we're starting to share in the membership is the personal experiences that I've had with some of these very old skulls. Like I started with this amethyst skull, and was sharing, what happened to me, how I got started, how it changed my life. Plus I had access to a full notebook of a tremendous amount of information about this skull given to me by a former owner, and I was able to share part of that. So we want to thank King Carey and Epic Voyagers for giving us this opportunity to be with you for about 2 hours, whether you're listening to us this evening, this afternoon, or this morning, because, some of you are listening to us live. Some will hear us when the show is rebroadcast, of course, through Dark Matter's digital network, which will be on Friday, so you can listen to that, listen to it again. I mean, I think we covered a lot of different things in a short period of time, which is normal for me. When I go in and I do presentations, I give a lot of information because I never know if I'll have a chance to go back or not. So, take a peek at our websites. You may want to check out this latest book that we've done. We also have started to do on Skype kind of intuitive readings as well. And, we just look for every way that we can in order to share the best information with you. So again, we'd like to also plug Mr. Carey's book. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, you might want to take a look at it, or Mike Slade's investigation, the Stephenville UFO. And also remember, too, that on this radio show, there are many other special hosts. They cover a wide range of subjects, as well as this whole station. I saw there's many amazing shows they have on here. So there's quite a wealth of information to give to you related to the spiritual, the paranormal, UFO, world mysteries, you name it. I think every subject is probably covered up by one of the shows that you can listen to. So on behalf of Katrina and I, the Crystal Skull Explorers, it has been an honor and privilege for us to be here with you tonight. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and please feel free to contact us. I'm always, as soon as we get emails and things, I answer them right away. So if there's any way we can help you or other questions we didn't answer in the show, please feel free to get a hold of us. So I want to thank you again. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, or morning, and we will see you the next time, and we will come back with a special guest for you. So hope you enjoyed this show today, Epic Voyagers Radio. This is Joshua and Katrina signing out. Have
Thank you. Bye.
Day. Bye. Take care.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyages. I'm Roger Peacock for Epic. Until next time.